It is important to understand the procedure to finding gaps as well as understanding methods or different criteria behind the process. In this video, I'm gonna go through a two-step process of locating gaps. The two things that you have to do is you have to quantify the session that you're in, and you have to control the scan that you're in, both from a timing perspective. The first thing I'm going to do now, first of all, there are mistakes that you can make, and there are different ways to get to the end result that I'm going to show you. But one of the quickest is through the chart. And first of all, I'm going to show you a mistake that can be made. You click on the daily chart, and this is the same process. You hit the format symbol button. You're on a daily chart right now, and you have properties and scaling and style, and of course the settings. Now when you go to properties, you go to the session. You're in a regular session, or that's what it's set at right now. You click this button here, and you can go, you've got the regular session and you got the custom session. Now I'm trying to punch this button right now for using custom sessions, and it will not work. And that's because it doesn't work on a daily chart. So you go back to the daily chart, hit your format symbol, go over to the settings tab, click on the minute chart. I've got mine defaulted to the 5-minute chart, but then you just click OK. So now we're on the 5-minute chart, and in order to make the custom settings work, you have to be on the 5-minute chart. Again, we're going to just format symbol. We're going to go, we come to the 5-minute chart, we go to the properties, and now and we're in the session for the stocks and the post market, and now the black button comes up under the custom sessions that we have. And when we click on this button, you can see that there are many custom sessions that are already built. I have one built for 2 minutes after the open. I'm in Minneapolis, so it's Central Time, and 210 minutes after the 8:30 open is noon. And then, of course, there is 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. and 10 a.m. all Central Standard Time. Keep in mind, if you're looking at, if you see this line right underneath the red target button, you can see custom sessions are not available when using daily, weekly, or monthly charts. So you basically just need to go down to the minute chart. When you get here now, I'm going to show you how to create another one. You're going to click the create button. That opens up into this window over here. I'm going to create a 30-minute window. So we'll name it a 30-minute window, and we will give it a time. And so 30 minutes after the open is 9 a.m. here in Minneapolis, and that's going to be Central Standard Time. So what we're going to do is create a session. This is the session that we're creating, because you have to establish a session in which the candle closes, so that you can use it to identify on the scanner. Then we've got it named, and now we're going to add it. When we add it, this window comes up, and we're basically going to use the same name. This is a 30-minute, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's our session name that we're going to use. The day we're going to do is we're going to start it on Monday. This requires that you can see the note down here. Session times are based on the exchange. So we start the exchange at the 9:30 a.m. start in New York. And we're going to end it on Monday. And we're going to end it at 10 a.m., which is the 30 minutes. And then what's very important is you check this box right here. You have to check that box because it says use the session as the end of trading day marker. This is what's going to give you the end of day analysis. And so then we click OK, and you can see we've established the name is the 30 minute 9 a.m. goes from Monday 9:30 a.m. to Monday at 10 a.m. And now just by clicking this button right here, we can add all 5 days to the trading analysis session that we are creating. So we now have a 30-minute session, and then after that session, we can then put it in a scanner. And so we'll now click OK. You can see there's 30 minutes in that green line each day, Monday through Friday. If we click back up here, we can see that we created it right here. It's a 30-minute 9 a.m. Central Standard Time session. We click OK twice to get out of there. We're now going to leave this and go to the scanner, and we'll come back to it in a bit. When I click open the scanner window, I'm just going to use this one right here, I guess. It's just as easy. We're on Zip Zion lowest. And this is August 21st, 2017. And you can see that there are 4 symbols here in which Zip Zion is lowest. And if you're not familiar with it, when Zip Zion is lowest and going up, you are in a uptrend. And so we have a potential uptrend on those 4 symbols. Now I'm going to take and format that, and we're going to go to the search criteria, and we find that I have two conditions in here. Zip Zion is lowest. And then Zip Zion, when it's lowest, usually does much better in going up when it is also has trend red lowest. And so I utilize both of those indicators to create, to find nice uptrends. But what I want to point out here is we're going to hit the +0, and you can see now this here is normally on a daily chart. This one, I forgot I had this at the 330 minute, but there, what it normally comes up is that it's on the daily chart. You also need to load additional data. This 55, every single indicator that you load in needs to have extra data loaded, and a minimum of 55 should be used. It's basically you're picking up your 50 moving average, which goes back 50 bars, and there's very little that needs to go back 50 bars, more than 50 bars, to get a response out of what the indicator is doing. So 55 works just fine. We used to use close to 100, but we found no difference as long as we're over 50. Now, that being said, what you're going to do is you're going to go in here. It's normally going to come up on the daily. You're going to press that arrow. You can do the 30-60 minute, and that will and we could use a 60 minute in this case here. But what I'm going to do is go down to more intervals, and then with the minute, I can literally type in the time on the minute bar, on the interval bar, I mean. And so in this particular case, we've got a 30-minute session. So anytime after the session, I could set this at 3:30, or excuse me, at 31. In this particular case, I'm just going to leave it at 35. Remember, each scan takes 2 to 3 minutes to run, and so if you have, if you have 20 scans that you want to run in an hour's time, then you need to start, or they can be started right at 31 minutes, and then they'll run to the next hour or through the next hour. But just they're not going to all run right away is what I'm trying to tell you. Now I've got this set for 35 minutes. And so the interval on the scan is going to be 35 minutes. So in other words, I'm running a scan after the session has completed itself, meaning that we have a closed candle. And so then that scan will pick up the results of that closed candle, and that's what we need to do when we're searching for gaps. What you need to do is to be able to deal with a closed candle prior to the closing bell. You can do that at any time you want. But now we have it set at 35 minutes, and then we will click that twice. Oops, I hit the wrong button here. The plus sign twice, and it goes back. What you want to do, if you have 2 or more of these, you want to set both of them at 35 minutes. Or excuse me, you want to set both of them the same. And so we would set this one at 35 minutes as well. And click OK, and then we go back and we have both of these now set for the 35 minutes, and they're tied to the session that we just went through. I'll switch this back later, but I want to go in here back to the session category and show you when you go into this area here, you can create whatever session length you want, and it's real easy to have enough time to run as many scans as pretty much as you want if you use the 210 minute or the 270 minute, which is noon or 1 p.m. in Central Standard Time, and that would be 3 or 4 hours before the market closes. And one of the things you'll find out if you're searching for gaps is that the candle prior to a gap really doesn't move a whole lot, and so a few hours after it opens, that candle is not going to move much from where it's currently sitting. And so the end result is that you can search for gaps 3 or 4 hours before the gap. You just need to verify where it is prior to entering the position for that gap that you're anticipating the next day. And so I use the 2-minute chart to pick up quick movements. For example, power red, when it crosses over 0, it usually has a bigger green candle than it has had in the last few days. Once in a while you get it to cross over 0 by really small amount, 0.2 or 0.3 or something like that. The next day it really goes up big. That's what I refer to as a stagnant candle. The vast majority of the time when power red crosses over 0, you get a nice big green candle. When it crosses under 0, you get a nice red candle. Typically. It's not always true, but generally that's the case. Now, there are dozens and dozens of examples like that I could give you, and the point I'm trying to share with you is that when 2 minutes after that, 1 minute after that open occurs, there's a good chance, especially if that stock even gapped up a little bit, that it crossed 0 immediately. And so it's going to the scan will recognize that it's over 0 when you run the scan on the closed candle. 2 minutes after, excuse me, 2 minutes after the open. And so then that takes about 2 to 3 minutes to run. So within 5 to 7 minutes, you can be entering a position on one of the symbols that you found and capture the climb in that particular situation that day. And that's one way to if you've been searching for or haven't had time to search the night before and you're looking for something to get into, this is a real quick way and easy way to do it. And it could be, you could have Zip Zion going up, or there's just a variety of things that you could choose to go into instantaneously. So the rest of those times are identified or placed there for the scan to I don't want to say start. Here's the rule. If you create a 30-minute, or if you create a session that ends at noon, you can't start the scan until after the session has completed. I mean, you can do it 1 minute later, or you can do it 3 hours later. You just have to do it you have to start the scan after the session has closed. And so that's the only requirement in this process, because by creating the session within that by creating the session, we create a closed candle. When you check that box that says use it as a marker for the end of the day. And so we create the closed session, and then we create the scans to run after that session. And you can, let's say you got 20 scans that you want to run in 2 hours after a particular session ends. Well, then 2 hours later, you've got another session that you could run another group of scans at. And you can pick up these scans. They're listed right here. Here's Zip Zion, and we have a number of scans that are listed under it. And each time you make a scan, it'll be there, and then you can save as many scans as you want. So this is the procedure that you go through between creating the session and creating the scan, or at least timing the scan that you want to run to get to find the results that you're looking for. It's just basic operational information, but it's important to understand. It's real critical to know how things work so that you can effectively use the system.